In today for a moment. We'll just drop in together. Let's just take a couple breaths together today. Deep inhale in through the nose and exhale out of the mouth. Again, deep inhale in. Exhale, release. Beautiful. Just calling all parts of ourselves here now. And I just want to share a little bit about the energies because it's been a little bit of a whirlwind. And I know it was really busy for a couple of weeks, and maybe you're still feeling that, or maybe you finally felt like a little bit of settling. But I noticed kind of ramping up toward the week of Thanksgiving here. If you're in the US, we celebrate Thanksgiving, some people do. And it tends to be kind of the start of like even though we're starting earlier and earlier this like every year it feels like with the shops and the lights and all the things, but it feels like Thanksgiving's kind of really the start of like people are out shopping more, people are putting up their trees, and people are decorating for Christmas. And so we're kind of move from like Halloween and the season of the fall kind of like into the Christmas, or whatever holidays you celebrate, but kind of and during this time there can be this extra like pressure and this stress, and there's like so much consumerism and sales and shopping and materialism things, but it also brings a lot of pressure and stress in the world, needing to do more. We got to clean the house and do the shopping and have the feast and things like that. And what I really want to invite in is one, how beautiful it is that we get to celebrate whatever it is that we celebrate, that we, feel resonant with. And also, I want to invite in the reconnecting to ourself and the slowness and taking care of ourselves, because this is the time more than ever that self care and prioritizing what we need is so important. Otherwise, it's real easy to get kind of lost and caught up in that distraction and the chaos. And so what I noticed, I was in Costa Rica for a week. I came back to Denver for a day, and then I flew out to visit my family on the East Coast, and then I was in Denver for a couple of days. So I was gone from my home for about 2.5 weeks. And it was so nourishing for me. And also, I could feel the energy of the busyness in it. And I could feel the chaos in the airports and the chaos like in when I go out to the store and things like that. And so for me it was really like coming into more more breath, more rooted in my body, more slowness, really being present with my family and appreciating the time I get to spend with them and the meals we get to share together and the stories we can share. And that even going out to the store and doing a little bit of shopping, but it not being as much about the shopping but more about spending time together and the experience of that. And so now I've arrived back in my house in Taos, New Mexico, and winter has finally begun. We got our first snow, and it's we're using the fireplace every night, and it's really beautiful. But I've kind of settled more into this slowness and really like, okay, what do I need to nourish myself? And taking a little bit slower morning. We're moving into, if you're at least in a similar time zone as me, we're moving into the days being shorter, shorter and shorter until we get to that winter solstice. And so each day we're having, it's getting darker and darker until we hit the winter solstice. And then, we start to see the light again. So, what do you need? This is a time for nourishment, for rest, for recalibration. We're also kind of just coming out of a Mercury retrograde, which caused I had multiple plane delays and different things happening in the air, and also it was like a really beautiful time for me to connect to my intuition and do a little more purging and reorganizing and things like that. So really taking the energies and allowing them to work for me and support me. And so the invitation here again is just how can you find a little more stillness in your day, in your life? And maybe that is taking a walk, and maybe it is taking some breaths. Whatever you need for, maybe it's taking a bath, whatever you need for yourself, this is the time to provide the extra nourishment. And so I just want to offer that because this is, we're kind of like in a little bit of a break, not really a break, but a little bit of a break from the chaos from the Thanksgiving holiday before we like really go full force into Christmas. And so just what do you need now to nourish yourself before it gets too close to the holidays with Christmas and New Year's and whatever else you might celebrate? And so, how can you take the next couple of weeks to really nourish yourself so that when the bigger holidays come around, you are already feeling nourished? You're operating from a place of overflow instead of already being depleted. And so, this is how this supports us in our health, our immune system, how things flow. And so, oftentimes, like when we get sick or lead to sickness, sometimes it, of course, it can be like a nice purge, but also sometimes it can just be from like doing too much, and it's our body signaling we need to slow down. So we can actually take the preventative step and slow down first, and then of course if we need to slow down more, maybe the things still come, but it really supports like our health and our longevity and our ability to support the busyness and the chaos when we're already overflowing instead of coming from a place of depletion. So that invitation. And then also what I want to share,